All right. All right. Hello, T-Farmers 2002, Coltron, and Ninjatron as always. Kind of my spiritual partner here every Friday. I think you've made all of them, I'm pretty sure. Maybe one you missed. Destroy a Weapon. How are you? Nice to see you. El Kevo. I found some interesting stuff. I didn't know what I wanted to talk about today, but I ended up finding some images that I thought would be fun to talk about related to Armada. And I didn't really see much that I needed to talk about going on this week, unless I totally missed something. I was busy with freelance work. David Willis, how are you? So I didn't know what I wanted to talk about, or if there was anything that we had to talk about, but I found these couple images, and it might be fun. Let me see here. There we go. Now I've opened up the chat. All right, now I can get rid of this one. You know, ladies and gentlemen, it's only kind of a polished up monkey here trying to figure out how to use this technology, so I appreciate you showing up every week and bearing with me as I figure this all out. Hey, the Twins Corner, how are you? How you guys? So, let a few people trickle in here. Like I said, I didn't really pick up anything this week. I'm in the process of putting some stuff on the website, but we'll talk about that later. And I didn't get a chance to open anything of my Fans Hobby products. So, what I thought would be fun today is to call up a few old images from the Armada days that really kick-started the whole thing off as far as how we talked about it internally. That's not it. There we go. Okay. So, if you remember the Armada days, this was the very beginning of that. So, when you create a toy line, hold on. So, welcome to Friday night. You're at the Toy Armada live podcast. We do this every Friday night at 10. Sometimes we end at 11. Sometimes we go a little longer, depending on the topics. Got a regular set of crew here that we have a pretty good toy conversation about the ins and outs of the toy industry, and what's more fun for me to talk about, having been part of it for a long time, is the manufacturing and marketing aspects of why the things that get made the way they do or don't, and that helps the discussion. So we kind of have a convention panel every week here on Friday, and it usually by the half-hour mark, it ends up being a Q&A, and we just, talk about what's on everybody's mind. So please like and subscribe. Check out the website, the Instagram, ArcherMonster_creative, and you can be part of the whole Toy Armada experience. So thank you. Appreciate it. Hey, Philip, how are you? Big Anthony Davis. Yeah, man. Good crew here already. Good crew. So, early in a toy line's development, you might internally on your team have some goals, a management objective, just maybe an invention that is a passion of yours, maybe an insight that you need to then exploit and start to explain to people how you're going to go about executing products with a theme and a story and all that good jazz. And you have to, since you won't have models, and the models that you might have will look really bad, and this is early days, you really want artwork or images that you can find that really sell in your idea, capture the mood, tone, a lot like advertising, a mood board that kind of says, this is what we're endeavoring to do. This is the vibe we're going for, and this is what we're trying to do. So this is early 2001. Yeah, I would say it was 2001. I was in Rhode Island. This first image, I I'm pretty sure, actually. Yep. The brief was given out sometime before March 13th, 01. For this image, where we would have known we were doing mini cons, we would have known we were doing small transformers that added to big transformers, and that they were going to be important somehow, and we had to sell that in. And Matt is here. How are you, Matt? Sell that in a way that made sense. Some of the old timers here that have been to some bot cons way back in the day, maybe I showed these. I don't know. We never colored these up. This is at a time where we really just got raw images in and put them on boards. Kind of digital transition, but not digitally working as much yet. So this was done by Ken Lashley at the time of Draxel Jump. So this is post Beast Machines. I went to him with a sketch and an idea of what I was trying to do, which I'll explain when the drawing comes up. And he helped me execute it. And it isn't a lifelike explanation of what the brand or the segment would end up looking like or really being, even in scale. But I think it shows the intent and the mood. So put yourself in a place where you don't know anything about a cartoon, you don't know anything about storyline, you don't know anything about the characters. It's really, we're going to make these products, and they have these little guys, and we got to explain that. So here we go. Had this idea that these two robots, again, we didn't have style, we didn't know what anything we were doing there, were coming at each other. One would hit another one like a boxer in an old 60s kind of boxing match, and you'd see the sweat fly off. But that sweat would actually be tiny transformers that would then like redirect toward the robot that just got hit. So like a bunch of angry bees coming at you if you hit something. So you can kind of see there that, you know, we're talking about big robots that are fighting. Look at those big guns and a big sword. That conveys like we're doing these Autobots versus Decepticons. Going to be a big battle. We're going to have physical combat. They're robots, so they can make contact. And this is how we showed that the minicons had a place early on. So again, I don't believe this ever was colored up. I had a giant board of it, probably the full size of foam core or something, as big as I could get it. And, you know, it did the trick. It communicated, and this is a photo of a photocopy, so that's why it's a little, so I apologize. So that's what was going on there. So we sell that in. Everyone's like, okay, and you'll develop stories, and you'll make characters, and then you got to start thinking about a shape of a line. Now, this document, I call it a line look. A line look is something different now. That a line look is really a term used for the whole graphic treatment across packaging and publishing and whatever attached to that. So let's look at this. This will be interesting for everyone. Let's go back in time. So this is a way to visually see the entire line at a glance. At the time this board was printed, it was on a big foam core piece of paper, and it actually was the actual size in some weird way. Yeah, so basically the robots sweat scraplets. Yep, that is kind of how we sold it in. Definitely. Because we didn't really want to create a third faction that kind of lived on its own. We kind of wanted to have this symbiotic, parasitic thing, depending on who they were partnering with and how they were exploiting the minicon power. Okay. Bear with me tonight. I had a cold earlier in the week. So, on the left here, these are the old assortment names. Starting from, let's go from the bottom. The minicons were always called basic. What is deluxe, we called Supercon for a while. Maxicon would be the next scale up, which is obviously the Starscream. So you can see here the Supercon is the deluxe. So that's Hotshot, Demolisher, Cyclonus, Blur, that scale. Maxicon is that middle scale, the Starscream, Scavenger, characters like that. Gigacon is going to be your Jetfire and Megatron. And Super is Optimus. So this is very much how we built the line back in the day, with the biggest item being a key character. T-Formers 2002 also appreciate the comment and the super chat. Thank you very much. I am a freelance artist now, so believe it or not, the super chats help fund this whole endeavor and let me improve my systems here. So thank you very much. So that is how the line on the left kind of was communicated, and what we were trying to tell management before you have models, before you have even ideas on the table. I was very particular and peculiar about just doing silhouettes and trying to give a sense of what we were talking about, but not really giving them anything to comment on or direct from a lack of knowledge. Sometimes management would want to comment on things based on a vacuum of information, and they would start telling you things, and you kind of have your recipe already baked in, and it could cause chaos a little bit. And so this was a way to communicate the intent, the goals, scale, so that they would kind of nod their head and go, okay, you can proceed to the next stage. On the right, you can see how that rolls out into an overall line plan. You know, there's Starscream and Scavenger, and then a Starscream Redeco probably. And so I don't think this ends up being exactly one-to-one to where we ended up, but in the early days, we were making a commitment to do this many Transformers in Armada. We did a lot more, but in the early days, this is how we laid it out, so you could see how many minicons you would get across the line and why it was so important. This may even been before we decided to give minicons to each item. At one point, they were only going to be in the the basic 3-packs. But that seemed a little bit extra at the time, that you would be forcing people to make 2 purchases instead of 1 potentially, and that didn't seem fair to participate in the play pattern without the core of the play pattern. So, and I believe in that. I think if you're communicating something special about your product, but you got to go buy the key over here, that's not fun. You imagine you're at a birthday party and you don't have the ability to do the thing. It's just frustration. So having a minicon in every item alleviates that frustration. Lets you start building your collection, right? So you get a 3-pack or 2, and you got a couple other ones. All of a sudden, you got 9, 10 minicons milling around, and you feel like you got a substantial group there. So that is what this hopes to communicate. There's Matt for the win. Yeah, Gigacon became Ultra, Maxicon became Mega, Supercon was Deluxe, and Minicon obviously was Basic. Matt is a champion for the dry technical knowledge of the Transformers line, no doubt about that. I appreciate you, Matt. Princeton Phalanx 59, how are you? You can see here, this is early enough that we made up a logo. This is pre-packaging department being connected. And so we just went ahead and took the RID Transformers logo and kind of made a drop-down Armada thing there. So that is completely early days one-off. You know, I'll tell you something about the naming of these assortments. Let's talk about that for a second, because over the time they shift, right? They shift over a lot of different ways. And it has nothing to do with anything other than a easy communication to the buyers. So if anything changes price-wise, they don't want it to be the same name. They don't want to get confused about their pricing and what different things are valued at. For the collectors and enthusiasts, you know, wouldn't it be nice that everything is deluxe at a certain size and so on and so forth. A little trickier to do because we're really talking to buyers with those terms. So these are assortments they are purchasing, and you have to call out the assortment somehow. So they're not buying, 4-star Scream, 2 Scavengers, and a Thundercracker. They're buying the, Maxicon or Mega assortment, and that to them is a price, not the one-off item price, but what is a pack of 6 or 8 in the case. What is that going to cost them? Because that's really what they're looking for. I'm buying 20,000 Maxicon assortments, and that equals times how many ever items is in that case. So it's really a communication buyer's term. I know we use it because we are in the collector mentality and trying to understand and navigate the ecosystem of these brands. So those calling the different price points by different things helps, as a communication. But largely that's a communication meant for the buyers. If you go to conventions and you hear people at Hasbro talk, they're going to use these terms, but it's not often outwardly facing. Sometimes in circulars and ads, that's why you'll see these terms, because that's the buyer-led kind of communication. So does anyone have any questions about this one? All right. Yeah, that logo was created by a guy named Kirk Grathwold. I'm pretty sure. We called it the test tube logo for a long time. If you look at my Toy Armada with Aaron Archer logo there, I'm trying to recreate, obviously. It was kind of like a little beaker with like the Tesla tubes with the lightning going through them. That was kind of our inspiration at the time. So that is, we used that for a while, and it was really cool to use something consistently for a while that you developed. It really makes the era that I was fortunate to help lead cohesive. That was my mentality, and the mentality of everybody working at the time was trying to make sense of everything. So we wanted to kind of breadcrumbs to the next and the next, and the universe is not so far from Armada, so that people could navigate it easier. Now we're in a different world, not every assortment goes everywhere, and you're communicating a little differently. So that's unfortunate. So what I did is I had found a bunch of these drawings. So here's one I didn't scan. So I sent Ken a sketch. I'm not going to lift that too high because of the phone numbers and stuff. But I sent Ken a sketch, and then he sent this back to me as a rough to approve, and I said, sure, that looks great. And then, that's how we end up with this. In some cases, maybe even better than my crappy photo. And what else? I didn't photograph this one. I don't know. You'll see this one again. But then once we started getting into things, if we had models or whatnot, then you start on the development stuff. So I found this guy. This is early Smokescreen. This is Yuki-san art. These are those stabilizers I always regret that we lost. So Welcome to the secret sauce here tonight. You can see how they would have dropped down and stabilized the whole vehicle. This is how Yuki-san did it, and this is kind of how I also did it. This was more my speed, kind of like real rough drawing. Here's my trying to explain where I think this stuff will be. So I found a few of these funny little photocopies. That's what I thought we'd talk. We'd talk a little bit here at the beginning. Better than not having anything. And then you all have been patiently frame-worthy. Yeah, well, they're just copies of they're copies. They're not even great copies. It's just nice to have a little bit of something to reference back. So I'm going to get back to some of these questions here in a minute. So everybody's been coming back, and we've been having fun with some of the stuff on the walls in the background, so I figured I'd show some stuff there too today. So Voyager, David, that was just a word we could use, and it was a word that, you need words like deluxe and mega and ultra and just to communicate scale. So Voyager just became a thing. Kind of weird. I knew a guy that worked at Kraft who said the Walmart insisted that you either give a better value each year to keep your price consistent or lower the price. That is true for some types of products for sure. Toys they don't have as much control of. They can't make their own Star Wars toys, so they're kind of stuck with the situation that Lucas hoists on us, and then how the deals between Hasbro's and the buyers all work. But if I worked for a toothpaste company or a pillow company or a trash can company, they definitely had an opinion about how price went. How do you decide how many characters to make for each size? There's a metric that the marketers use. I'm not entirely confident to speak on that, but and I'm going to say this was from like 95 to, let's call it 2012. I believe this was more true. That you didn't expect every participant, so I'm talking to the ROG audience tonight, but you didn't expect every participant in a product category to buy every item. Nor is discretionary income easy to get. So you didn't want to make too many at the top end, and you kind of made more at the bottom end or middle end a little bit. So there's some sort of math they do. Now it's a little bit different because you're talking to a kind of different consumer bases. I talk about this a lot, but now that we're in the world of replica toy, you're really talking to two audiences at once, where you're trying to get that kid audience somewhat, but you're going to appeal to the longer term enthusiast anyway, because you're doing something more accurate. And the cat has arrived, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jiro. So you try not to top load it, basically. And that's where redecos come into play, where you can ease your overall assortment costs by reusing tooling, essentially. And if it's a straight redeco where you're using the same paint breaks as the previous item, it's going to be even cheaper. You got to pay for those new paint breaks if it's a redeco that has different colors. But if you want to keep your costs down, then you can offer more items in your line, and it kind of amortizes it out, So that is it's a loose way of explaining to you, but I think a marketer would need to explain that better. I think that is the secret sauce that they learn in their training. Speaking of universe, was there ever any discussion about making some sort of animated media crossover? No, not really. We made the little art thing, like a poster, long poster that had all the characters on it that Marcelo drew, one of the early projects of Marcelo. And that was going to be it. The fact that Unicron was in there kind of was the connection, if you will. But it was never a serious contender for anything but to volumes were selling well with Armada and RID. So is there more volume to be had? So we dusted off some of that Beast Wars and Beast Machines products and whatnot and created the universe opportunity. Yeah, Walmart's an interesting animal for sure. The biggest thing we dealt with relation to Walmart, and I talk about it in particular around some bigger products, but shelf height. Shelf height gets determined, and your box needs to fit in that shelf height, and in some cases width, and or depth, because if you send a package with 3 of them and only 2 of them fit on a shelf, they're not happy. So they want to put a whole assortment box out, and be done with it. So all that has to come into factor, totally based on the geometry and scale of the Walmart shelves and how those get set. And they work with the big toy companies, obviously, to create that ideal, what is called a planogram, that lays everything out, the ideal way. So that is the biggest factor related to Walmart that we all continually had to take into account for. Matt with the super chat. Appreciate you, Matt. Thank you. I was going through some Armada animation models and noticed TFGX on a lot of them. Was Generation X an Armada working name, or what was that? I don't know. If they were animation models, that was all would have been on the Japanese side. So I don't think that must have been a way they were communicating to the animation team that maybe this was a new G1 or something like that early on. But that wasn't a term that we used. And if it was really in the animation models, it must have been a communication between them two. Shoot me an email. Let me see what image you're talking about. Maybe I'll have more insight. But I don't think that's a term we ever used, at least in the Hasbro offices. That Classics Deluxe Prime always felt like the U.S. version of the 2004 Robot Masters toy from Japan. Maybe. A little bit different build types, obviously. I think there's just carryover, Claudio. I don't know if it's intentional. Yeah, Jiro is the name of the cat. I've already had an Ichiban, and this is Jiro. Do you know anything about the creation of the infamous The Ultimate Battle Deluxe Optimus Prime from Classics? If not, do you have any thoughts on that infamous toy? Gotta be honest, sorry about that. I'm not sure I follow. It was the first mainline attempt at a G1 Optimus Prime. That might be one I have to see. It's not tripping my memory banks, unfortunately. I could either know a lot about it or nothing about it. Sorry about that. I'll have some news, I think, in the next week or two related to one of the summer shows coming up. I don't know if everybody's made their summer plans yet or not, but it's going to be an interesting show. We'll talk about next week. I'll tease that. Quite an interesting group they're getting together. But I cannot confirm that tonight, unfortunately. What did I say? It was just a word. Come on, man. What, the assortment names? They don't mean anything. GigaCon doesn't mean anything. I don't know how we got to those first ones, Maxicons and that kind of stuff. Probably better that some of those changed. A little weird. A little weird. All right. From 2006. I think I know the ones. Oh, yeah. I think those were those Takara-led items? Like around the Robot Masters kind of vibe. I apologize, but you can imagine all the items we did make, how many we didn't make, and how many of those that we didn't make were also Optimus models. So sometimes I have a little, and what came out in Japan that didn't come out in the West. So sometimes I can easily get a little confused about which of the items is which, unfortunately. And again, we always worked with working names or kind of preferential names, and then the final item comes out and everybody knows it by that name, and we no longer remember, we never get the real name because we're moving on to the next wave or two down the line. So it's a problem with designers. We don't always know the final names of the products we worked on, particularly on a brand where you're really churning out a lot of products, like a Transformers. So let's see. Cybertron had Scout, Voyager. Yeah, they changed it around Cybertron. I think the prices might have changed, or what we offered shifted or something. All right. Sounds like Jolene has a long question here. Let's see. A friend and I have been doing a podcast where we watch through both Armada and Micron Legend, and particularly interested in the differences in Scavenger's motivation. In the Japanese version, he starts out generally aligned with the Decepticons, but changes sides to the Autobots later on, while in English version, he's undercover as a spy for the Autobots. According to the Legends yearbook, this change was made because the latter portrayal of a friend and foe would be more comfortable for the American viewers. Do you remember anything about that change? I remember we discussed that character being a mystery character that reveals and looks evil. He looks like an old Constructicon, right? Looks evil and dangerous and big, but ultimately is a good guy and is going to come in mysteriously and might be perceived as a villain, is what I remember. I don't really remember the nuance of from like an American side where he's the undercover spy is kind of what we were going for, so I guess that was the American version, where I think the conflicted villain is a more nuanced Japanese type character. I think we in America anyway, I can't speak for other countries, or the whole country here, but we often have a hero's a hero, a villain's a villain, and villains are villains for real. And a nuanced villain like a Starscream, like a Dinobot, they're cool because they Transformers gets away with it, whereas some brands don't. So in Japan, that Scavenger could have definitely been more of that. I'm a villain character, and I'm aligned with these guys, but there's something changing in me, and I'm changing my motivations, or I'm willing to do different things. That's a little too cerebral, often, for what we thought of to do, anyway. Yeah, it might have been in the editing. Just not really sure. Yeah, good question. I wish I had deeper information, but that's definitely what we remember. And that's why he has a villain color pattern. People often ask me, like, why'd you make an Autobot, Devastator colors? Why wasn't he a Decepticon? Or why didn't you use different colors? Well, that was again, early days. I didn't know these you collectors all lived out here and were still paying attention, but it was a callback for me, just to like, he's going to look like the villains of the 80s, but he's actually not. So the color was a big part of that mystery, right? At least in the development thought process. All right. Wow, I've already passed the midway point. Thanks for being here on a Friday night at the Toy Armada Live. Been going here for a little bit. So I took some photos today of my office, and I thought I'd show some detailed photos because you can appreciate maybe some of the stuff happening back here. Not the greatest photos, but that's that top shelf where I have what I consider my growing up stuff, where I was influenced by, Dungeons & Dragons, Star Wars, Muscle Men, all the good stuff. Silverhawks, Zoltar back there, Thundercats, all the classics. There were a lot of side changing during Armada. It's a big theme in the show and built into many of the toys. Yeah, and I got that off of Dinobot from Beast Wars. I really liked how that character, functioned, and I did like that. I guess we did that with Wheeljack and some of the other ones, and yeah. Oh yeah, that's a sea spray. Little sea spray there. Here you go, David. You guys can, I'm sure, hear it purring. The Harley Quinn animation model is actually, you know what? I'm going to go get that real quick because that is pretty cool. Hope I don't tear my shelf down in the process. All right. So when we made the Harley Quinn figure in Batman days, a couple things. We didn't make a lot of villains in the Batman animated series. We didn't make a lot of female characters at Kenner. And the way you made any character at Kenner was based on a character's popularity and longevity and an awareness factor for kids. So when we endeavored to make the Harley Quinn figure, it was an uphill battle, to say the least. We presented it in a series of rounds, and it would get rejected, and we'd keep coming back with new data. And ultimately, we got it made, and it was a character that was organically created by Paul Dini and the team. And so, out of appreciation, they sent a copy of a model sheet signed by Bruce Timm and Paul Dini. I got a signed script as well that says from one Harley fan to another. And so that is what that is back there. It's pretty cool. I really thought that was awesome. It's one of the only times we got something like that, but I cherish that. That's really cool. Definitely a badge of honor. So that was a good question. Where was that question? What's the deal with the Harley Quinn? So there you go. Jet Jaguar was my favorite. Kenner Firestorm was a good one. Yeah, I got some good stuff up there. Fun stuff. Nova, I was a kid from the 70s. It's a modern Nova, but I like Nova. Got a Snake Eyes in there underneath the War Duke shield there. He's all in silhouette. So that's that. That's the next couple shelves down. Now this represents more of my work. Now that I've converted this room more to the podcasting, I've moved my collection off to the left, and I'll show that picture too, to make this more about my contribution to the different things I've worked on. So you can see my Toy Fair covers. That's a few of the Toy Fair covers that I have of my products. Some of my Batman stuff, that's an original board of the Pirate Two-Face. That's my original Optimus Prime from when I was a child on the top center there. Long stacks, ladies and gentlemen. So there you go. There you go. There's another photo. You got to think back to 1996, 96, yeah, 95, 96, 90, I don't even know if we got into 97 with that one. Harley Quinn was very difficult. This was a new character. It was a female. It had this wild accent. She was the Joker's girlfriend. Well, we'll just make another Joker. We don't need to make her girlfriend. It was before she's now had 30 years of kind of awareness and built up and being added to other comics and other series and movies. So when we made that first figure, we're going to do a longer version of it, me and Steve with Proto Man. We were just talking about that today. And we'll tell the whole story. And it's a funny story. And obviously one of success. I think if you look back to Batman, the animated series product, really cool products, some signature core fun visions of the characters. But getting that Harley Quinn made is an outlier. It's strange in every way and awesome in every way. So it really is a high mark for me and my friend Steve, who did it, the designer of note on it. And it's a funny story. It's an epic story. When we were conspiring to get it made for quite a while. I have that Psionic Ninja Batman. Lost an arm, unfortunately. That's my whole line. I did all the Night Force Ninja guys. That one in the middle, holding the sword with the gray and blue, that's actually the classic Superpowers blue and gray. I went to the Superpowers style guy that was still around and pulled out the exact colors. So that matches the Superpowers Batman. Nobody ever talks about Night Force Ninjas, but it is loaded with subtlety that I put into it. That is a Takara ID badge. Good eye, Alkevo. I spent multiple weeks at a time sometimes, or at least 1 week or two, at one time 3, at Takara. And I got to tell you, once we started the co-development, and I was the point person, I was treated as one of the team. I was not shepherded or escorted through the offices of Takara. I was given a badge, told where I needed to be and kind of when things would happen, and or when they would have early morning meetings. I'd come in a little late so I wouldn't have to sit through 2 hours of Japanese I might not understand. But they gave me a badge. Which is very, very cool. And yeah, it's a our own man who shoots arrows. Our own man who shoots arrows. What is the green-faced Batman next to Pirate Two-Face? Let me see here. Oh my gosh. I thought I would do a key, but I didn't. The green-faced Batman next to the Pirate Two-Face. That's a Night Force Ninja. I think Crusader Batman was his name. Night Force Ninja is a line that I did that, not as well known as other parts of things I've worked on. Yep, Torka. besides Transformers? Are there any other mecha things that you know, from an inspiration as an artist, I'm into a lot of different things. From a visual, I always had trouble with anime and the dubs and all that stuff. So I don't follow any anime stories. The last time I followed an anime story, it was either Battle of the Planets, Gatchaman, or Yamato, unfortunately. And then things like Ninja Scroll and Bao and Fist of the North Star and Akira and the movies that would come over. Appleseed, the first Appleseed, not the second. But so I'm a fan of Seven Stories as a mecha. I like that. I even go back to BattleTech. I know that's a little lame, but I do. Oh, that's cool. You got an animated Batmobile. That is a first shot Batmobile from Kenner in yellow and green. I got that the first week I was up there. Yep. We made an Azrael on that line. I do. Let's talk about that. That is a Derek White Galvatron that was given to me by Derek. He gave me all the sticker sets that he had made for the 2016 final BotCon, I believe was the last time I was able to spend time with Derek. And he loaded me up with all the stickers. And so I put that Galvatron up there because it's cool. And to honor my one of the colleagues that I enjoyed working with a little bit. Eric worked with him a lot more, but he's a good guy. So, yeah, that's where it sits. Thank you very much for noticing. I was a big fan of Mazinga, not Giant Robo. I like the look of Giant Robo, the Egyptian vibe, but I don't know much about him. But Mazinga, or Tranzor Z, as I knew it, I was big into that. Shogun Warriors of the 70s, so Dragoon, Deimos, all those guys. Obviously, I was a big fan of that stuff. Have you ever thought of making an archive of all the lines you made for people could refer back to all your work? Yeah, I have a list. What I don't have is images associated with each item, so it's just kind of difficult. But it's something I'm working on in the background, not anywhere near complete. So we'll see when that happens. Princeton Filings 59, thank you. But that's what I'm trying to do here, trying to take more pictures and show you guys some of the little behind-the-scenes stuff and see a little bit more granularly how I've done some of this. Yeah, I got my original BattleTech box right up there. Let's see here. Nope. There we go. So that's the office. To my immediately left is the bookshelves and kind of what you're looking at on the wall is the junction box, but then I've done a whole mural with wires and stuff coming out of the junction box. So a lot of that is a mural, not actual junk hanging off my office. Did I meet you at that BotCon, Coltron? I say hello to everybody. If anybody's ever met me at a con, you get all access Aaron. I am happy to talk all night to anybody everywhere. I try not to be aloof unless I'm just tired. I appreciate the fans and the enthusiasm that gave me a really great career. So I love meeting people at the BotCons and the TF cons and everything else. To that end, TFCon Toronto is coming up quickly. Don't know if you guys go to Canada, but or are in Canada, but I will see you there. Sketchbook 2 in color will definitely be there. It's an all-new sketchbook, but that will be there. If there was a comic to advert the Night Force Ninja toy line, what would have been the pitch? Do you have a premise in mind? Yeah, so I have the whole presentation I did. Basically, we had exploited the Rogues Gallery. We exploited him going through time. We exploited him being a detective. What Night Force Ninjas was an opportunity to exploit Batman's willingness to fight and battle and perfect any and all combat techniques, and that was the goal. So to present him as a capable battler in its simplest form. That's what the goal of that segment and its feature set would have been. So that was the Office. So this is immediately to my high left. These are some of my favorite things that I have. So I like all kinds of stuff in this picture, but Captain Shark up there in the middle is a highlight. That is one of my favorite Transformers. It's a theme that is throughout. It's in a ridiculous alternate form, right? A big metal kind of battleship shark, and that the fact that he transforms into a guy with a captain's hat, pirate hat, and a hook hand, and the shark mouth opens on his chest. That is just got so many of the things I'm looking for in a Transformer. Unbelievable. But that Batman logo keychain there is probably one of the most important pieces up here for me. That's a good friend got me that, and we had a lot of good times. So I look at that and think of my friends fondly. It's my dad's Zippo lighter up there with another Zippo lighter my friend gave me. Got Ohio's flag living large. What else we got? Got some Zevos. I know. How can you not know Evan? Ninjatron will be at Canada. Good. We'll catch up. I was looking at the Rainbow Monster Ninja image that I'm playing with. Oh, cool. Okay, Coltron, I got you. Yeah, the convention thing is a thing to unravel over the years, particularly when you go to your first one or you're younger and you got different types of goals, right? Not hanging out and not necessarily meeting people. You're looking after items and things you haven't found before, and it's a different experience for sure. I get that. So did we cover everything here? I think we did. I got some Ken Christensen art back there. I got my Pikmin in Tokyo. I don't know what else I can explain to you there. I got my, right there in the middle, I got Trent Troop's B-Mog. Check that out if you don't know about it. So everything in here is connected to a friend or a property that I'm lifelong connected to, like Predator and Star Wars and G.I. Joe. So yeah, that's that one. That's the Office. Let's see. Right, I'm sorry to say, everybody, but I'm Ohio all the way. It's us against the world, good or bad. We're going down with the ship, and we're bringing everybody with us. The geisha doll. My uncle actually married a Japanese woman back in the 50s, and that is an authentic geisha doll. It's a hat seller, actually, from her. And I just saw her last week at my aunt's funeral, so it was nice to talk to her and share a little Japanese. So yeah, everything connects over there. Everything connects. Did I have anything to do with Reveal the Shield? You know, a little bit, but probably not as much as to answer any questions, Joe. Sorry. I've been wondering what the original intent for the Real Gear Robots toy line was. Were they meant for Transformers Cybertron? How could they have fit in the toy line's ecosystem? So when you do a movie, you have an opportunity to sell to more retailers because you're going to get the buzz, the lift of the movie, and the marketing campaign is going to lift that property up over one that doesn't have it or just has basic TV animation or something. So a wider group of buyers across a wider spectrum of stores are going to buy product. So in order for you not to get overrun with the same stuff everywhere, or maybe making bigger molds than in doubling them up than you want to, you're going to offer different assortments and different types of assortments, different price points. So Real Gear gave us an opportunity to, quote unquote, make a movie assortment, take the frenzy concept of gear and kind of blow that out. Like, what if there was more of that in the film? And we can offer a low price point that the movie otherwise didn't really have, and kind of take that as permission to do a whole line of game controllers and watches and all that stuff. So that's really what Real Gear was. It was not part of Cybertron. It was a opportunistic assortment to put more stuff out into the market. And that's what it was. And it was, you know, in the movie vernacular, but also we were able to say, you know, Soundwave and Megatron and Perceptor and, you know, Blaster and characters before that had this. It's an element of Transformers, the gear bots. If you look at the car bots and the, you know, army bots or whatever, you know, gear was also an element of the G1 experience. So we wanted to blow that out. That simple as that. It was an opportunity. We're at 11. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep rolling. Hope everybody's having a good time here. Good questions. Good interaction. So I hope that, Mr. Wald, hope that explained that question. How is everybody doing? The Twins Corner with the super chat. Thank you very much. It's always good to learn more about Armada. Aaron, to complement your fans' hobby, Mega Tyranno, are you also getting Naval Commander? Yeah. I'm getting, I don't know which ones you're talking about. You're talking about the fans' hobby ones or the Hasbro ones? I guess Naval Commander is the fans' hobby ones. Yeah, they sent me all those. So I'm good. And I bought the Hasbro ones. Or I put them on order, right? I already put them on order. You do see a Total Justice Huntress in JLA packaging, but that's all the same. Rescue Bot's down in the corner. I got it all there for you. It's a Easter egg hunt back there of all the different stuff we can talk about. You know, I don't know why Michael Keaton is back and if that's related to toys at all. But yeah. Did you work on the Aliens franchise, and do you have any representation of that work in the office? Just curious. I did the Alien Resurrection toys. I don't have any in here at the moment, no. And that's we have a long form podcast on that if you want to check that out on the Toy Armada. That we probably talk about a little bit of the origins of that and how that came to be. But Alien Resurrection is the one I came into. When I was interviewing in fall of 94, so around Halloween, they were still doing Aliens and Predator toys, and I would have come in, had I been hired, and been on that team. And you can see here, both on the top and in the middle, I'm a big fan of Predator. So, and Alien, or Xenomorphs as people call them now. But alas, those lines died before I got to work on them, and that's how I ended up on Batman. So Batman needed the help, so that's what happened. The Twins Corner. Yeah, looking forward to seeing you guys in Toronto as well. Yeah, gonna have to get you guys like sideways minicon shirts or something. Anything you could say about Titanium? Well, Titanium was an overall type of assortment, right, that the company was doing. And Transformers was just one segment of products that fell into that umbrella. So, you know, they were trying to do the die-cast thing. They were using our designers to help that. Some of them had Takara's help, some didn't. So there's varying degrees of skill going on. You know, it was fun that they did some odd characters. I don't really remember all of that at the moment. I'd have to do some research because it really wasn't on our team. It was a whole different team. Armada Sideswipe, maybe. I could see somebody eventually doing it. I saw the Claudio. I saw some images of the Transmetals 2 Cheetor today that looked pretty cool. I did that one, and never. I don't think of that as a highlight at all. So the idea that someone's remaking that one is cool, because I don't dislike the character, but I just know it wasn't as popular as other versions of the character. So, you know. Do you think how much of Orson's interaction with fans was sanctioned by Hasbro? Depends what you mean by sanctioned. Back in the day, they knew I was communicating, and the goal was don't communicate anything that you otherwise wouldn't communicate a panel, right? But no one was on top of me making sure I was doing anything right or seeing if I was doing things wrong. So, you know, it lasted a little while, and then it didn't. So, last week, Protoman teased the next episode is going to be about the Transformers property. I think so. Yeah, we talked about Batman Beyond this week. As one example. We need to get back to Batman, and then I'm working with a friend to do a little bit more long form mini, I don't want to call it a mini movie, but more of a documentary of the creation of Night Force Ninjas. So really put it all out there in one go with editing and all the images and see how that goes. So that'll be interesting. But I appreciate, Alkevo, that you are interested in hearing other things than Transformers. I love talking about Transformers, obviously. I did a lot of it. But I could also easily just talk about other aspects of my career with the same amount of depth. So if other people want to hear that, that would be awesome. So any of the Batman segments we really could cover. We just haven't yet. So please send preferences. Do you receive any discount or promotional code for having worked at Hasbro or being the father of the Red Dragon? No. They, you get paid for your efforts, and once you're gone, I wouldn't even know if they knew who I was at this point. That's how crazy it is. So, you know. Oh, Evan, that is a crazy question now. If I squint my eyes and look at it for the spectacle, they're all great. But I don't try to put too much depth into it. I liked Prey. Prey was really cool. But the Alien Predator films there's great sequences, cool concepts, but they're not always the best narratives. Not since the early ones. But I enjoy them nonetheless. More than the Godzilla movies, actually. So I guess that says something. Probably just started a fight there. Do you think you could do an episode on animated? Yeah. We need to do an episode on animated, but I want to get Eric with that. Because really, Eric Siebenaler worked with Derek on that. I was top line working with Cartoon Network and Sam Register and the group overall about our goals as a company, but Eric was the one that was out there, mixing it up and meeting the people and really making lifelong friendships with a couple different fellows over there. So I definitely need him to do that. I couldn't do animated justice on my own. Let's see. Well, I appreciate the Transmetals 2 Cheetor comments. That's nice. Yeah, Batman Beyond. It's so weird. I mean, I did the first wave of Deco, and there's a long story why that is the way it is, and I think it's worth telling. Kenner did a lot of movie lines, and not all of them were successful. Did that affect people in the trenches? You weren't limited in your career by being put on brands that weren't quote unquote the cream of the crop, right? Somebody has to work on, and no disrespect to any of these brands, but when you look at Star Wars and Batman, the drop down to Mummies Alive and VR Troopers and Congo and Mission America or Invasion America and any of those kind of lines. So you weren't penalized. You're always kind of rewarded for your innovation and your willingness to do great concepts. So that didn't hold anybody back. Now, if you were on a Batman, like I was, if you were on a Transformers, like I was, there's more heat, there's more action, there's more things going on. That is going to help your profile. So artificially being on a bigger brand helps, but no one wanted to not be on big brands. If you were on a Shark's Tale, you did as good a job as you could with the time and money you had as you would have on a Transformers, and it's just not as sexy, right? So that is that is that. I had the I had the Alien Resurrection newborn as a kid. Woo! Yeah. Yeah, we had to edit that one a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, check out that long form. I think you'll enjoy it, and I could always answer questions after you watch that and see if there's any more depth you want to glean out of it, because I'm sure there is. They name dropped you in the live stream when they revealed the Armada Megatron, so they must know who you are. Well, the core team that are a few of the guys. I worked with Mark when I was there, so and Mark and I were cool. We were creative buddies. We always enjoyed looking at each other's sketchbooks and what we were doing outside of Hasbro. So I think there's a mutual continuity, respect. I think how I handled myself related to designers is remembered by the people that are there. So yeah, it was really cool to get name dropped. Absolutely. I'm not finishing up yet, but if you want to, check out the aaronarcher.com. I got a shop where I do sell artwork and publishing efforts, and the original art that I sell is kind of like this. Kind of a close-up here, but I do commissions. If you want to get ahead of seeing me in Toronto or anywhere else I may be, hit me up and we can work something out. So you can get original art. Was the angry archer intended as irony? It's hard to imagine you losing your cool. No, I don't tend to lose my cool unless I'm really fighting a tough design battle. I think the angry archer came from, I think people have told me that I interacted with at work. There was an intensity. I don't really have a lot of screw around attitude sometimes when we're just trying to get this stuff done. And I would say things like they were a little bit, and I think it was funny to them, like, oh, the angry archer. So that was completely on them. I don't think I was angry. I think it's kind of a more of a slightly different kind of like intense archer, but that wouldn't be a cool name. But again, very fortunate that they added me to that show, because I am now, whether Hasbro knows me or not, I'm part of Transformers through the fans, no matter what, right? So you can't take that out. So that's very cool. I don't think the 2008 Onslaught, I don't recall if it was going to have a key. I don't think so. Yeah, Congo toys were on the pegs for a while. I mean, they didn't do, I mean, Waterworld did better than that. VR Troopers and Congo are kind of more analogous. Although the sculpts on those apes on Congo are really cool. So if you just look at them as items disconnected from the IP, they're really cool sculpts. No, Invasion America did not have toys, although we brainstormed all kinds. Space Above and Beyond. You know, we brainstormed things you wouldn't even know that Hasbro even knew about, much less spent time on. Random question, but do you know if there was ever any consideration for a Freakazoid toy line? I don't think so. Would have been awesome. I am a big Freakazoid toy fan. I had more than several meetings with Spielberg. Some very close, some right across the table, some presenting to him, some off to the side. I really wish I would have asked him about Freakazoid. There was kind of an unwritten rule, you don't bother the people you're working with on stupid shit, right? So that would have been a bit too far, considering how much ET and stuff meant to me, and Raiders. But I would have liked to have known a little bit more about Freakazoid, because to me, I love concepts, and the origin of Freakazoid in that cartoon and what he does, it's great. It's outrageous. And every time my cat walks across my table here with my little keyboard here, I think of Freakazoid. So is it Super 7 or who? Somebody should do a high-end, one of those boxed, they should do a Freakazoid if that hasn't already been out there. I'm sure you did nothing to cultivate this persona. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to have to ask Marty about that one before too long. Is it true you asked for the Angry Archer to use his left hand over his right hand? Yeah, I am left-handed. So my contribution was, well, if he's fighting robots, he should have some kind of augmentation. They also should have, one guy had the skates, and the other guy had a portal. So mine was like the robot arm to shoot a more powerful bow, right? Play up the whole archer aspect of things. Yeah. Freakazoid was fun. I definitely was watching Animaniacs, in college and whatnot. But I liked all that stuff back then. Gummy Bears is one of my favorite cartoons of all time. That including the theme song. And not as much DuckTales, and I don't like the Duck, so even Darkwing Duck wasn't for me, but Tailspin I was into. I'd even suffer through the Chipmunk Show just to, get by. But yeah, there was a lot of great stuff back then, but man, you want to get me going, talk about Gummy Bears. Yeah. So let's see here. There he is. Check that guy out. Looking forward to getting that one. I got that one. That's more kind of the original art you get. That's going to be in Sketchbook 2 coming out this summer. Yeah, so one of the other things I'm going to start doing is on my website is going to put up some odd stuff. like the European Swerve, G.I. Joe movie swag. Excuse me. Some of the weird publishing efforts. That kind of stuff. And then I got, you know, original art up there. So check out archermonster.com. Archer Monster Creative. Man. It's all catching up to me. All catching up. Let's see. Yeah, Overhaul was going to be Trailbreaker. I don't think we could get the use of Trailbreaker. It might have been Outback or something, too. I know we couldn't use Outback for a long time. Yeah, right? Those Valentines, this unopened, you know, vintage. For a whole $1, you could get this thing back in the day. Might sell it for a little more than $1, but it'll come with some stuff. So, somewhere on the net, I found a full version of Gummy Bear's theme song. Yeah. Really cool. You know, so we could talk about all that kind of stuff. So that's a good example of, you know, how did I get this way? You know, if you look at some of the family structure and intrigue and different stuff in Gummy Bears, that helped influence my willingness to try different things on Armada. You know, you could have characters and stuff that did different things. Yeah. So, where are we at here? Almost at 11:30. Let's see. We had 90 people pop in. Pretty good. Pretty good rate. Seems nice. So, had another great set of questions here tonight. I've been threatening to do a drawing cast here soon. Might do a Vector Prime drawing. Vector Prime is a character that I seem to... people enjoy the original art of Vector Prime. You know, his story resonated with the people there that watched it, I've heard. Well, here we are, Mr. Omnis Sun. Yeah, some of those names, Outback, Trail Cutter, Trailbreaker, Fall. We were just trying different words, you know. Like Stepper was a weird name, so it's a ricochet from that old Japanese exclusive. You know, it's a callback. You know, we tried anything. It didn't make sense, but yeah. I can't remember the Batman question. Well, we had fun. I was able to show you guys a little bit of in more detail here, right? Some of the stuff that you've seen in the background. I'll do the closet next week and around the side there, where you can kind of just see Hellboy and some of the Godzilla stuff. I don't know if you've all noticed, but if you watch the different podcasts week over week, this area here on this shelf gets changed every week. So there's something different there every week of some kind of funny note. So that is a prototype for the Hall of Fame Optimus trophy, the Hall of Fame, you know, Transformers Hall of Fame award. I never stood why in Armada there were two versions of Optimus and Megatron Voyager, and Leader is like with the rise of the Beast that have the main line. I'm not really following that question, but you kind of want to put your main characters now kind of across the assortments. Main characters are the ones that are moving. You can't expect everybody to be able to buy the higher end ones. So I think they try to spread it around price points now. But why is my big red dragon not in dragon mode? My original one up on another shelf that I'll take pictures of is in dragon mode. That one is purely because of shelf arrangement. The dragon wouldn't fit with all the other stuff I'd like to fit on that shelf. This is kind of cool too. I got a fair amount of these Japanese Armada, or a few anyway. I don't know about fair amount, but so those are cool to have around. No one's pointed that one out yet, so I figured I'd pull that one forward. I gotcha. Omnitron, I do remember that name, I think. Sounds like a name I would have put on a Transformer. Do you know what happened on the Takara side with Transformers Galaxy Force? I don't think it's a sequel. I don't really know. You know, when they made their stories and edits and voiceovers and dubs, those stories were written in Japanese, so we were going to always kind of have to massage a little bit anyway, because they wouldn't have translated perfectly in English, you know. So we had to kind of massage a little bit, and I think that's accurate for most anime translations. I could be wrong on that, but that's certainly what we did. So we didn't worry about their names or how things connected or not, at least on the Hasbro side. We just told our stories with our edit the way we needed to. So clearly it's almost like there's two shows, right? They're kind of similar, but they each have their own take. It's kind of like what G1 had with the comic story and the animated story, and you kind of have to see how you like it to work. So yeah. Yeah, that's true. I thought about that last week with all that movie product coming out. I forgot that a lot of this has been held back and in storage in some ways for a minute because they pushed that movie out. So, yeah, they are both coming out now. Yeah, Galaxy Force, I don't believe, is a sequel in the Japanese version at all. Hasbro paid for that final scene where we had all, 6 or 7 kids, and they were older. The Armada kids were older, and Kicker was there, and we paid for that to kind of create a coda ending. In the end, I don't know if that was just the team deciding we needed that coda. I don't know. It may not have been the best use because I don't think it gained us much. But there it is. Tigerhawk with wheels on his wings. I'm sure there's a mode in Japan that rolls a different tank mode or something that we just don't realize. Oh, did they go back and connect it up? I don't know. The Hall of Fame fan vote stuff, I don't think that was going to... We could never get that to, we're going to make a toy. So I don't think that was ever I don't think it was likely going to help anything get a new toy. Yeah, I mean, the Japanese market is very particular about its stories and its cultural, there's shorthand with the imagery and whatnot. And, it doesn't always, the same stuff doesn't always work here. So it's it was interesting. yeah, don't think about it too hard. There's a lot of headcanon in all of the Unicron Trilogy to make it all just kind of, it all works. That is how that is. All right, everybody, we're coming to the end. I thank you all for being here. Good conversations again. Always fun to talk about Armada Animated, or Armada, Transformers Armada. Thank you to the Twins Corner for the various super chats. I appreciate that. Princeton Falix 59, thank you as well. David Willis, the cat will be back every week for you. And Matt, thank you. I appreciate you seeing you guys. It's like it's old home days having Matt and Ninjatron and David and a couple of you others here that I used to know at the cons. It's nice to have you here. A big part of my professional career, so I thank you. It's good to see you here. So I thank everybody. Check out archermonster.com from the shops and all that. Look for the new book soon, next month, I hope. And we will get that going. And look forward to seeing whoever will be at TFCon Toronto next. Every week keeps going by. Now we're, 2 months away or something. So thanks for watching Toy Armada. We'll see you definitely back here next Friday. I think Proto Man and I are recording something this week, if not two things. We're going to bring our first guest in to do a 3-part series on Beyblade is the goal. And if not that, it might be Batman Beyond, could be a focus on Transformers again on a single item. I don't know, but we're going to try to find something that maybe isn't Transformers next. So, T-Formers 2002, thank you also for the super chat. I know you all know me as the big wig of Transformers, but that was a long time ago. I am an independent artist, and I am doing this out of the, want to share and make the permanent record, but everything helps keep the lights on and the equipment going and all that good stuff. So I do appreciate it. It is a value to me. So thank you. With that, I'm gonna go to the art and we'll call it a night. So thank you for coming. Hit me up, archermonster.com and or archermonster@gmail.com if you want to email me directly with an idea, a detailed question you think I could talk deeper on the format here, and we will see where that goes. So thank you, and cue the proto music. We'll see you soon. Thanks, everybody.